The stream is live now. You can start.
If you could just take it from there a little bit, yes. So we're already live and kicking. Day 3 at COP29. And this is a special call out for the lady, Elizabeth. We can't start without you. Elizabeth.
I saw Elizabeth. Lisa. Okay. Lisa suggests not to, if you could look at the camera, it would be okay. I can say a few words on behalf of the. So I thought I'd welcome you just on behalf of the
organization, because that's important. A very good morning, and this is day 3 at COP29, and we're here at the Digital Pavilion. And like the word says it all, we have our experts here. We've been working in their various fields, connected with AI and the digital medium of spreading the work that they do. So I will hand over to our host today, and he will expound a little bit about his organization.
Thank you very much, Elsie. My name is Miro Polzer, and I'm with IAI Glotcha and the Climate Change Coalition. And we are here at the Digital Innovation Pavilion at the UN Climate Conference COP29. This Digital Innovation Pavilion is a space where we bring digital solution providers to present their solutions and to engage in conversations with the global climate governance community, with climate activists, with university representatives, so that we can really see how these emerging technologies, especially blockchain, AI, and Earth observation is also a big thing, geospatial data, and so how this can be used for more effective and rapidly scaled up multi-stakeholder action for the climate, because governance is important, regulation is important, but it needs to be then implemented. And for this, the digital innovation community needs to be in these spaces, and we try to be here the ones who are creating opportunities for people like you. And also BC100 Plus is a very beautiful initiative, and bringing together and highlighting, showcasing the best solutions. And we are happy to host you here, and welcome, and looking forward to hearing your presentations. It will be certainly very interesting.
Talking about BC100, we have Lucas here, right? So Lucas will expound on all the details of how he's put this all together for all the experts here.
What would you like?
Yes, thank you so much. So yeah, I'm Lucas. I'm with Planet 2050, one of the co-organizers of the Digital Innovation Pavilion. We are focusing on scaling carbon market, also in the blue areas, currently focusing on coastal reef restoration projects, among others in the Philippines, an area that has lost 50% of its mangrove since about a century. And BC100 Plus is a special initiative I've had the chance to participate in since the beginning, 2 years ago, under the patronage of Mr. Kurosi, the former president of the 77 UN Convention. And basically, BC100 Plus is a community of private and public institutions. We have also UNDP and other members that look at applications of blockchain for sustainable development goals. And probably I will talk a little bit about that and some examples that we've seen. We have launched an ocean flagship initiative to look especially at use cases that are around blue economies and ocean. Yeah, and I know that you have to rush, so maybe tell us a bit about you, and then we'll have time for more conversation. Yeah.
Okay. I was interested to listen to you, but thank you very much. Well, my name is Jan Partner. I'm Secretary General of the One Ocean Foundation. Thank you very much for the invite and for being here. 2025 should be an exciting year for us because talking about digital innovation, we've been working for the past 5 years with our partners, the Bocconi University, the CSIC, the Spanish National Research Council, and McKinsey on basically establishing the first data disclosure framework for the industry on ocean impact. We've been researching this space, and unfortunately, SDG 14, as we all know, is very sort of still virgin as a reporting platform for the industry, and also financially gets very little attention. And since there is really no time to lose, because the ocean, as we all know, is very linked to climate change. We cannot talk about climate change seriously without talking about the ocean that covers 70% of our planet. And so the impacts, really, 80% of all the impacts that we see on the ocean environment are industry driven. So if we really want to go to the root cause of the issue, we have to work with the industry. And so since there is no reporting standards today on SDG 14, especially on the impacts, I think the first thing we need to do is try to create a standard, like a baseline. And so we've been working on this for the past 5 years. It's pretty complex because, as we all know, the ocean is a very complex environment. And we took as a guideline basically the EU definitions of the different pressures on the ocean environment. And so we identified these 11 pressure points, and every industry has a different impact. So you can't compare really the textile industry to oil and gas or to coastal development and tourism. It's different impacts. And so we have to drive down vertically, industry by industry, create the different KPIs. And we also have changed a bit, introducing a bit of revolution in the way disclosure frameworks work. And that's where the digital innovation comes in, because we've been lucky enough to work with McKinsey on Gen AI. And so we're basically taking the balance sheets that are online declared from the different industry, from the companies, and we're analyzing that, pre-compiling basically our questionnaires. And so on that, we give a rating. So we're taking official data that has been disclosed from the companies, and without going back to a company having to pre-compile all these sheets, basically, we're giving a rating. And so all kind of impacts basically on the ocean environment, depending on the industry. Right? Like fishing has direct impacts, textile has a lot of indirect impacts. So it's about, total questionnaires, about 55 questions, and that differ from the industries. And so rather than waiting for companies to... It's not that I can talk louder, so rather than...
No, it should be.
See, yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. It doesn't matter. Now it's back. Okay.
Yeah.
Rather than to wait for companies to disclose freely their data, we are taking basically the online data that's already available, the public data, and so we don't really lose time on that. And I think that's quite an innovation, because it doesn't really exist on disclosure frameworks. So this, I think, has been our advancement on digital innovation, and happy to launch that. So watch this space.
Yeah, very exciting what you're doing. But I'd like you to dwell, if you are working with citizen scientists and the youth, and like you're talking about data, do you also bridge the gap between traditional knowledge and knowledge from citizen scientists working on the field, and bridge the gap between your scientific database? Are you doing that? I mean, you told me you have been surfing as well. Back home in India, we have surfers as agents of change, and they know their backyard pretty much, and we collect data from the fishermen and surfers. So would you explore a few more details about your work? Do you involve, gathering data from various other aspects which the audience would love to learn about today?
Thank you. Not specifically on the Ocean Disclosure Initiative. This is really industry driven, and so there we basically depend on data that we find on the web. But in our other fieldworks, absolutely, as foundation, we're busy mainly in the Mediterranean environment. also because the Mediterranean is unfortunately a hotspot also on climate change. And so we're working with citizen science. We're obviously working also trying to get data. We have, for example, one catamaran that travels around the Mediterranean, different areas, as a scientific platform where we gain environmental DNA information. We started with ecotoxology. So there's different areas, obviously, maybe not that. It's citizen science because we invite citizens on our platform to learn this space, but it is scientific driven, so we do have scientists who work that drive data collection process in order to have that happening as no go. We still lack a lot of data on the ocean environment. We're about maybe 15-20% of actually the data that we all need so much of export, especially on deep oceans. I think this is definitely an area we really have to look at, and the ocean data to really get push in that direction. So I think there's a lot of expectations, especially also from technology development. I've heard of new technologies like they established now a Wi-Fi network in the water. So there's a lot of things happening, and I hope that this is going to drive change.
Excellent, that's fabulous. And like I've been working on ocean literacy. I've been trained by UNESCO in Barcelona as well as Athens, as well as Portugal, and also been to speak by 2022 as well. Like you said, science is key, knowledge is key, and therefore, like I shifted and evolved into speaking work to focusing on ocean literacy, especially for the global south where I come from. I mean, COP29 is about the finance part, as we all know, right? We're all looking for funding, we're looking for transparency, we're looking for everything on the table, right? And where it reaches. So we at the global south, we face the right, and like many other countries too, all the islands. So there are many children who haven't seen the ocean, who don't know what it is like, what just on TV or on their mobile phones or whatever. So ocean literacy, which is now recognized So our ocean literacy program has been recognized by the UNESCO, and we've been certified as UNESCO Green Citizens for our ocean literacy program. And our abstract has also been absorbed and put into the Ocean Decade for 2020. Knowledge and science for the youth. And what we are asking is to make it compulsory in the schools and academia, of course, at the research level and at various other scientific levels, work level, it is there. But we're looking at, we need all hands on deck. So we're looking at a younger niche market and the younger target audience where you can teach them, and more we get on board, the better. So, you know, children do make up their minds to rescan, opt for oceanography and marine biology and things like that. So we're trying to put this across in this COP29 is funding for enforce it as a policy, enforce ocean education, ocean literacy as a policy among all the global governments, educational departments. I mean, we do have talks after talks, year after year, but when is this policy going to be implemented is what I'm here for this COP. So like Jan said, you know, it is important for science and education and data collection, and it comes from the youth getting more jobs, the youth getting involved and having a say in the policy and in the workforce. So therefore, that's the work I do. Your host today, Elsie Gabriel. So that was very insightful. Yeah, thank you so much. And we overlap. And would you like to tell us more about the Mediterranean and on Sylvia Earth as well, that your podcast are doing? And, you know, many of us here wear several hats. And we keep evolving. So it'd be lovely to say what you're really working on at present, or maybe something unique which you did in the past, or something which you're collaborating on. So we're all here growing in different areas. So yes, Jess.
Thank you very much. No, well, there's lots to talk about. But I think you mentioned a very important point on the young generation. I think there's so many opportunities out there, and the kids are not really aware, maybe sometimes, of these opportunities, of what's going on in the next 10 years. There's so many job opportunities out there, especially when we look at innovation, new technology solutions, and especially on the blue economy. I think we will see a huge shift that in some areas we see it already. For example, seaweed farming. There's a global increase, I think, for the industry of like plus 35%. And so this, I think, is huge opportunities, especially also for the global south. Then I think another opportunity that we have on hand is when we talk about natural capital. That we're lucky enough to still have areas like mangroves. We were just talking briefly about, and I'm interested to hear more about it. We really have to protect these pristine areas that are still out there. Talking about in the Mediterranean, we have the Posidonia oceanica, which is basically Neptune grass. And if you just, people are not aware that 1 acre of Neptune grass in the Mediterranean absorbs the equivalent CO2 of 10 acres of Amazon forest. And we've seen a decrease of 30% over the past 50 years because of anthropic pressures. So it's so important that these messages get out there, even for boaters. We see it in Sardinia. Tourists just go out there on the boats, they throw their anchors. They don't really realize the damage they're doing, and they're not aware about it. So I think awareness, and that's where ocean literacy comes in, is key, is really key. And I go in schools and universities and trying to get these messages across. And you mentioned the podcast. I think that's another sort of opportunity that we have with internet, trying to reach a broader audience, because sometimes when we feel we talk to the preached already, to the converted, we preach to the converted. But I think we have to go out there and make just the broader public more aware of what's really happening, of the important issues. And I think the podcast we're just launching now during the COP, it's called As Above, So Below, in order to also show that everything's interconnected. You can't really separate the ocean from land or vice versa. We are land species, and so unfortunately, if you look over the past centuries, decades, we've been really concentrating on trying to explore everything that's on land. But we didn't really, there's very few examples like Sylvia that has really gone down deep below the surface and really tried to find out what's down there. And there's so much lack of information still. I mean, we know every corner of surface of the moon, and we don't even know our own planet, right? We haven't even mapped, I think we're at 20%. So the podcast tries to introduce personalities like Sylvia, trying to get that to the public, because they're beautiful storytellers, and I think their visions are so important. And it's also trying to get maybe some communication side. Sometimes we have, I think, problems when you look at climate change. It has more than 30 years really to grasp what's happening. So probably we didn't really do a very good job of communicating what's happening. And so maybe sometimes we have to step down a bit from the scientific perspective and try to get a little bit more simple message out there with these concepts. And so since we don't, time's running out.
Yes, it definitely is running out. Until you're in it, you don't really feel it. How many, I'd like to ask the audience, who maybe one of us here, have been in a tsunami, have been caught in the middle of a disaster? Any of you?
I was in the Hurricane Irma in 2017. That was category 5. So we had a development there, and it was scary. You saw palm trees flying horizontally like toothpicks, 380 kilometers an hour. So
Yeah, so it comes from the soul and the heart when you're really in it, and then you believe in it, and becomes your mission and your passion, and that's what draws you to fulfill your dream, and you work harder and dedicate your life to that. So it's brilliant. Of course, we in Mumbai went underwater and we had kids in the hutments, everyone neck deep. And then I said, like, you just can't do social work with biscuits and blankets anymore. You have to go beyond. And then we started our research and again, data collection. And then, of course, it was plastic pollution, clogging all the marine ecosystems, lakes, rivers, and everything that led up to the oceans in our city, Mumbai. So that's what it led to. So unless you're in it and you really feel for it, I mean, that's your underlying mission that really drives you. So thank you so much for your insights. And it was lovely having you here, and we're looking forward to collaborating.
I'm really sorry to have to run.
Yes, thank you so much for your time. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So have a beautiful day.
Okay, I'll be back. Okay.
Yes, I'll
Thank
stay
you.
in touch.
Thank you.
I'll send you the videos. Yes, please come. So it's been lovely. And of course, I think we're just looking at our clocks and time. So we'd love to have Jan speak also, and he can take over now. Yes.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me here. My name is Keyano, and I'm running a company called Carbon Tribe Labs. And what we are building is we are building a platform to create carbon removal digital assets, which is a completely new format of the carbon credit. We have actually worked with lots of NGOs, NPOs around Southeast Asia, Europe, and there's actually the common question and common problem is the profitability of the current carbon credit, like better gold standard or those very major carbon credit. Their like a ground idea is amazing. However, the actual profitability is really low because the total cost and total time they have to consume is really large and it's impactful. So we have built a new platform and technology to prove the carbon removal amount digitally from data input to create digital assets, which is tradable. So I think this format, which is called, our standard is called Carbon Tribe Standard. Currently, we have standards for mangrove ARR, forest ARR, and the methane and N2O. N2O is 300 times more impact to the global warming. And I think these available methodologies are already useful, but the good things about us is that we can create our own authorized standard or methodologies additionally. So currently we are talking to a company, for example, like we're making coolant and or heat pump. Or for example, like those heat pump or coolant, we can also create a carbon removal certificate. So I think this format will make good impact for the environment. Also, in the future, we are also considering the some blue economy more than mangrove, just a mangrove, but also other formats. So we really looking forward to collaborate with the other project. Thank you.
Maybe I'll just take it to make the bridge with BC100 Plus because Carbon Tribe is actually a signatory of the manifesto. So if you go to the website bc100plus.org, you have the manifesto of blockchain in support of the UN Sustainable Development Goals and the Charter Value. And maybe just to bridge with the use case that I was talking about before, actually blue digital asset is one of the key use cases that we see of blockchain when it comes to improving and facilitating the issuance of the digital carbon asset, digital carbon credit, and also tying the verification data together with that certificate end-to-end from the observation that is done with the community and the natural ecosystem until the trade and the retirement of that certificate. Maybe two other areas that we are seeing many startups. So as part of the Ocean Flagship, we listed about 40 projects and startups that are building their own platform or technology, maybe like Carbon Tribe and others, especially using Web3 tools and in combination with other technologies. It can be traceability, IoT, AI. And so the other big trend that we see is all about community mobilization. Especially we've seen a lot for plastic recycling and plastic credits. So nowadays you have local communities and people, they can register through a wallet. They don't need to rely on a centralized entity or foundation. They can directly get paid for the work they do in collecting plastic waste and bringing to recycling centers. So projects like Plastic Bank, beach collectives, and so on. Maybe the last topic is around traceability of supply chain, where blockchain can really help to create trust and transparency, making sure that we know the provenance of the products. WWF started in 2015 with the yellow tuna fish for traceability, but I think we've seen a lot of experimentation. So if you're interested to learn more, I would definitely go into this type of use case, and we'll have some more resources at BC100 Plus. Yeah, so maybe I think the ocean is a very diverse topic and we have a lot more to talk about. So let's continue.
Lucas, absolutely brilliant work there. So many years and really deep. I mean, to put that across in the United Nations Ocean Conference 6 months down the line. I think just aim for that because that's your calling, and brilliant work there. The world needs to know that. So both Jan and you, both of you as well. So now we have Major Mark Rausch here with us. He is the CEO of PHSA, Poseidon Handicap Scooper, trains divers when it comes to ocean disasters, divers to be agents of change. So over to him. He will introduce himself and tell you more about his work. Major.
All right, well, good morning, and thank you for inviting me here. So our piece to the climate is disaster management. That's what we do. And we come at it perhaps from a different perspective. We know disasters are happening. That's not going to change. So as throughout my military career, I've been in disasters. As a former healthcare engineer, I've seen the impact of those disasters. And so what we do is we kind of fill the gap in that. I mean, do we have any scuba divers here? Ah, there we go. Okay. Ah, very good. So what we do is we train local scuba diving instructors at different indigenous communities and communities worldwide in how to transport, how to move, how to take care of individuals with disabilities. Because I can make the argument that in a real disaster, those scuba divers are individuals who are going to be most likely to help someone in a disaster. Because the courses we teach a lot of in-depth medical information, and then we do a lot of practical exercises of moving people around and things like that. And so it's kind of a unique perspective to disaster management, maybe something that folks have never thought about before. And so that's what we do to bring to communities worldwide, to try to fill that gap into helping individuals in a real life disaster. And those scuba diving instructors, like I say, are, I would say, more likely than not to really help someone in a disaster. And the digital aspect comes in that we've been doing this for 30 years, and now we want to get into the digital realm, where we can put more of this stuff online and be able to reach more people. Just a couple weeks ago, we got back from Lake Sharif, India, where we taught over 50 scuba divers and how to work and transport individuals with disabilities and move them around. And it's been a great success. So a lot of our past funders have been really supportive of this, perhaps kind of a new, unique way of taking care and helping people with disasters. And so that's kind of what we do. kind of where I'm here, to trying to move now into the digital area so we can reach even more of these people. So, and I will say on the carbon credits, those are great questions, because that's the trick, is to quantify that, right? Quantify the credit and then assign a dollar amount to it, right?
Just on that note, we visited a few mangrove sites in Philippines and talked to local development banks. You know what they told us? We already do mangrove restoration as a development bank. We give grants to communities, and then I ask a little bit more, how do you do this? Yeah, we give them money and then they can do the mangrove. So they don't know anything about what's happening after 2 or 3 years. They put the money there in a grant, right? A carbon crediting program is a 30 years program. You don't get the benefit of the carbon credit if you don't make sure it's designed to be resilient over 30 years. And I think this is, for me, the biggest potential. So yes, we make it viable, but you don't make it viable if it doesn't work for nature. And if you don't understand the ecosystem as well, what will make it work for mangrove? And the fact that there is no mangrove successful if there's no community involved as well. So the people component is very important. And so I think that's something really key. Yeah.
There's a lot of science and notes out there. So we do have Ahmed with us, who's dedicated all his years to so many areas of the ocean. And he's going to speak about the Red Sea project as well as the other projects. So we're very happy that you could join us here today. I've been following you, and he's been like a hero at the COP29, am I correct? He's been speaking at every session almost. He's really, really brilliant at what he does, and therefore he has a busy speaking schedule in COP29. And over to him, please.
Thank you so much for the complimentary you introduced me with. My name is Ahmed Fathi, and I'm leading Youth Club Egypt Foundation. We are working, part of our work is for plastic pollution. It's a story, short story, 2016. We were making the photography, program for photography, National Park in Red Sea. And I'm also scuba diving, advanced. So we were capturing video for an bird called osprey, if anyone know. During we are doing that, I found outside the nest that osprey is feeding his juvenile with plastic. He bring it from the sea. At that time, we launched a program called Zero Plastic in Red Sea Islands. And I'm happy that we have someone from Canada with us, because Canada Embassy supported us in Cairo for this project. It were supported for 1 year to making free plastic at Red Sea Island. By 2019, the governor of Red Sea took a decision to ban single-use plastic in all Red Sea government. In that time, we invite members of the parliament to join us in a cleanup campaign, but at that time we're in the Nile, making the policies. 2020, during the pandemic, they draft a law for banning single-use plastic in Egypt, and this law entered to work last year, not effectively 100%, but we are following. And after COP, just a few hours after this COP, I'm flying to South Korea for INC5 to follow the negotiation about the plastic and the neutrality of the plastic. The issue here I'd like to talk about is we, our generation, are lucky to have seen our ocean, our sea, dive with shark, dive with sea turtle. I hope the new generation can see what we have seen. I hope everyone can look at to the ocean and didn't find plastic or garbage everywhere. Second, it is very important when we are talking about the local community. They are the first line of defense for our seas and our ocean. I remember when we started our project for beating plastic at Red Sea and Wadi al-Jamal protected area in Egypt, we will go to school for the children to talk with them how the plastic is bad and how we can remove it and how they can care about it. Especially Wadi al-Jamal protected area is in the line of mangrove. So there is a lot of mangrove. And when we go now, we find them both a very big slogan inside the protected area: take nothing and leave nothing. That's were very important for us, and that the children we start with them 2018. Now they are in the university or something, and they support them community about it. But when we look to the issue of the plastic, always we are talking about the end user, but we didn't talk to the producers, which is responsible for everything. Many companies are responsible for a lot of plastic. According to the data, we are working with Ocean Conservancy. We get support from them for making cleanup campaigns, and we count many of these companies. Those they are responsible about what they are doing. I hope by the end, the treaty of INC, when it's finished, that we can find international law that both the companies like Coca or other and a table of responsibility about them garbage, about them plastic. They earn a lot of money, but what they invest in the countries they are making inside it. Do they collect? Yes. They go to the people which are making local collecting. We will buy your plastic and say we are collecting our plastic. But what's the mechanism? How we can make a mechanism for plastic pollution? Here I'm talking about in the local level. If we go to the Mediterranean this year, we did several cleanup campaigns at the Mediterranean, and as we are in climate change, I think by 2050, Alexandria, the beautiful Alexandria in Egypt, will disappear under the sea level. So we will talk about bigger idea of plastic, but losing the countries, losing areas of. We saw in Spain last month what happened of floods and something like this. Do we will wait for disaster and for crisis to come, or we have to be ready? Do we do some work for the local people, or when the issue came for that, and just to say, oh, we had a flood and blah blah blah. So what we do for the local people, what we offer to them. Today we are talking in COP about doubling adaptation finance. It's not enough doubling. Tripling is not enough. Force is not enough. AIDS is not enough for adaptation finance for each country. Always we are talking about the mitigation, but if we need a healthy ocean, we need to invest in adaptation. We need to support countries to work for adaptation. And during we are going to the adaptation, we need to invest in education. Our new generation have to understand the issue. Maybe we discover it when we become older, but the new generation, you have to start with them. Thank you for the invitation, and thanks for giving me the meeting.
Ahmed, you're really correct on that point, John. Like we're also like this generation seeing so much of the blue planet and of course biodiversity. But I'd also like to say we're also the only generation who can do something about it. Correct? I mean, if we're not going to hand down an intact planet, I mean, we owe the next generation, like we're leaving an empty platter, handing over an empty plate to them. I mean, it's really come to a point of no return, and we are running out of time. And literally running out of time here today, we do have Jen here with us, and she will expound on the details. And we'd like her to, and we have someone new with us here, also joining us. May I have your name, please?
It's
Jasdeep from
UN Climate Change.
Okay, you're from which country? Have a seat here. Okay, I will be the floor. So we welcome you to our discussions this afternoon. We have Jen here, who will expound on AI and the oceans.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm Jen. I work at MIT. I'm practice leader of climate and energy AI at the Martin Trust Center for MIT Entrepreneurship, where I build AI tools for climate innovators. For example, we have a suite of policy tools that lets climate entrepreneurs see the regulations and incentives relevant to their business idea, or to run techno-economic analyses, or identify potential funders. So these are tools that can be helpful to innovators working in the ocean space to figure out in a quick way what incentives are relevant to them. We were encouraged by hearing from a startup who said that they had engaged a consultant to help them figure out which incentives applied to them, and it cost them $10,000 and took months. But with our tool, they were able to find the similar information for free within seconds. So hoping to be able to accelerate entrepreneurs' development. Before this, I worked in climate tech venture investing, and I was with Climate Capital Syndicate, which is one of the most active funders of climate tech startups. They have about 350 portfolio companies. And I looked at a number of ocean-based companies through that. Some ones that I found really interesting are coral restoration companies, or companies that are using AI to do things within the ocean, such as gathering and analyzing complex data sets for making key decisions. So I've seen some really interesting companies that are building kind of an underwater satellite to map seafloor health, as well as above ocean companies that are doing things like decarbonizing shipping through adding kind of a kiteboarding type kite to ships, or through using foiling technologies so boats rise up above the water and they don't have to use as much power to go along. And then the last one I'll mention is I looked at a number of autonomous boat startups as well that are measuring water quality, water levels. So I think there's a lot of opportunities, and ocean is a huge impactful area that I've heard can impact, if we implement ocean solutions correctly, could perhaps make up as much as 35% of our goal of decarbonizing to 1.5. So yeah, very impactful.
Yes, holding it back to 1.5 is the key, although they're still debating whether they're going to relax that, which we ain't in for. Absolutely not. I mean, there's no dilly-dally on that. Yeah, so we're already on the borderline, and there's no way that we're going to give in. So over to you for a few words, please, and introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, everyone. So my name is Justine, and I'm the Ocean and Climate Lead at UNFCCC Secretariat. And thank you so much for this opportunity. Just listening to all of you was very, very inspiring. I think I just want to share a little bit on the ocean under the UNFCCC process and how all of you can contribute to it. So, as you know, we had the ocean is mentioned both in the Paris Agreement and the Convention, and the ocean is considered a very integral part of the biodiversity and is referred to as Mother Earth. And we also know that the ocean has been a victim of climate change, but it also provides tremendous opportunities, including in cutting down greenhouse gas emissions, because it acts as a carbon sink. So even though we had a mention of the ocean under a convention and the agreement, it was not until 2019 in Madrid COP that finally the parties stated that we need to start integrating the ocean more under the UNFCCC process. And then this was also obviously consequence of the special report of the IPCC on the climate change and cryosphere and the ocean. And then at Glasgow, we had a further mandate from the parties, the Glasgow Climate Pact, which stated that all the constituted bodies under the UNFCCC process need to start including ocean in their relevant work plans and activities. And then comes the Egypt Sharm el-Sheikh implementation plan, where parties are now encouraged to continue including the ocean in the national climate action plans, including the NDCs and the adaptation, communications and the NAP, etc. It was also a very important COP because finally we established the facilitated ocean and climate change dialogue under the UNFCCC process. And that decision states that during every subsidiary body session that we have in Bonn, we will have 2 co-facilitators selected by parties who are going to organize and deliver a dialogue in consultation with parties and observers on the topics. So we've had 2 of these co-facilitated ocean dialogues by co-facilitators, one coming from Chile and the other coming from Canada. So we had it in 2023 and we had it in 2024. So in 2023, the topics that were selected was fisheries and blue food and marine ecosystem restoration, including blue carbon. We had over 500 parties, representatives, and observers who joined us in Bonn, and it was a 2-day dialogue, and we had a number of key messages. The other mandate that speaks towards the ocean dialogue is that co-facilitators prepare an informal summary report which contains key messages. Now, these key messages were picked up last year at COP28, which was start including the ocean in the global stocktake. And so if you see the decision of the global stocktake, the ocean has been included both as an essential action, as a mitigation component, and as an adaptation component. And the ocean dialogue has been commended. This year's dialogue was on technologies for the ocean, including links to finance and climate action. And the other topic was a continuation of topic 1 from last year, which was on marine conservation and biodiversity restoration. And we've gathered 550 good practices and case studies from parties and observers on how they are integrating ocean-based climate action, including in the NDCs and NABs, and we have documented these case studies. And we have a number of key outcomes, again, from the informal summary report, which was presented at the high-level opening COP plenary 2 days ago by our co-facilitators. And they are going to be discussed further tomorrow at our official side event at 11:30 a.m. in the morning inside event room 8. And we have about 5 parties and leg and chef who are going to be making presentations. And then we have a plenary discussion where everyone would be encouraged to speak on the guiding question, which is what are the expectations for the ocean at COP29? I would highly encourage everyone to attend our event and also do read the key messages from the informal summary report. Before that, there are a number of key messages for COP29, including on finance, and also on how we can sort of build synergies across other UN initiatives and processes, and why technologies are so important, what kind of technologies are over there, how do they need to be scaled and deployed, and also, of course, on capacity building. So this is what we have, and I would also encourage you all, because I see you have observer batches, to come for the June dialogue for during SPs, and also do take part in the informal consultations which happen in Feb-March, and they're going to be virtual. So if you provide me with your contact details, I can add you to the mailing list, and please do be part of the virtual consultations, decide on the topics with the co-facilitators, and also come for a dialogue and a side event. Thank you very much. Thanks.
That was very, very insightful history down at the top of how the oceans have evolved to come and take place, some of the space that's under discussion. But the ocean doesn't really need to do that. I mean, you don't have to fight to really, the blue is 70% of the globe, right? And why does it have to be in a place, in that kind of a place? So Jaswinder, it was excellent, like outlining now what, tell me what kind of outcome are you expecting from 2029? I mean, what hasn't been done in 28? Are we going to fulfill it in 2029?
As I mentioned, the informal summary report has key messages for parties, including for COP29. And as I stated last year, how the messaging came into the global stocktake outcome. And so it is up to the parties and observers to ensure that these messages are taken up. And also, it's very important to continue implementing the mandates. Now, as all of you know, we have our NDCs, which are due in Feb 2025 next year. And under the Paris Agreement, it is obligatory on parties to submit NDCs. And as you also know, NDCs need to be a progression in terms of national climate ambition. Our last two NDC synthesis report very clearly showcases that including ocean-based measures does help to scale up national climate ambition, but more needs to be done. So our messaging, including through the report, is that we need to encourage the parties to include ocean-based measures in their NDCs for 2025. And that this is a great opportunity. So again, I would highly encourage, if you look at the report, it does provide information on, what kind of ocean-based measures be included in the NDCs, which also includes these ocean-based technologies that all of you have been talking about. And it also includes these adaptation measures that you've been talking about. So again, I would highly encourage, have the messages taken up and ensure that you are able to get all the work you're doing, all the goals and the targets included as ambitions in the next round of NDCs.
Thank you so much. So this afternoon has been really, really successful, I think, in putting everything on the table. All these experts have outlined the various we've had a very good diverse areas of conversation here, outlining the future path for the years to come. But most importantly, their work now needs to be recognized, needs collaboration. Therefore, it's up to you to multiply, take it forward, collaborate, connect, and don't forget why you're here at COP29. The key. Thank you, Ahmad, so much, and all the best for your next session. Like I told you, he's always very, very, good speaker and the work that he does. Okay, so with that, I think we'd ask Lucas, thank you so much, and Elizabeth, really grateful to you for giving us so much of time. And we're really, really happy that Jen could join us as well. We're looking forward to collaborate. And you, like you said, you're a scuba diver, you as well. And we're wanting to train the students. Yes, we want to train in HSA certification so that the divers can help in national calamities. And thank you so much for the time. I'm going to connect with you as well. Thank you so much. Yes. So, big round of applause for a brilliant morning. And over to Lucas to give the closing note, please.
Okay, thank you so much. No, it's been very inspiring. I think we talk about digital innovation, but I think the reality of protecting ocean is people. So hearing from stories, experiences, and how people relate to oceans is, I think, the best we can have for today. So thank you for sharing. And the day continues with ocean topics today. So there will be more panels and talks. So stay tuned.
Thank you so much to the tech team as well. Big round of applause to our tech team, to Elizabeth, to Lucas, and all our experts who flew in and took so much time. And of course to Ahmed's team, Gen Z, absolutely brilliant.
Bravo, Gen Z.
Keep going. And we want to train new divers. Yes? We'll come over and train new divers. Major, we can go over and train them.